is a production of the Must See TV Broadcast Network, like ShareJoin, and follow us for all the latest updates. Like what you see, then throw those stars and show your support. And don't be shy, subscribe to the Caveman. He won't bite, and if you're watching us right now on YouTube, then you already know what to do. Smash that like and subscribe button. Even one view can prevent one puppy from being shaven. A big fist pump goes to Donna, AI, and Music Mint for the incredible music that is in this episode. All rights belong to Christopher Michael Egerhus, aka the Caveman. So if he's ready, and if you're ready, then let's kick this show off. Growl, growl.
Lights up on the screen, it's time to see 5 days a week, we're where you wanna be. Exclusive shows and reels, we got the vibe. Tune into the network, hop on Facebook Live. Riding with the stars in our unique groove. Laughter twists and turns within every move. Must see TV's the place to catch it all. Epic moments, big and small, give us a call. Oh, you know it's must see TV come alive. Every day we light the way on Facebook Live. Catch the magic, hear the roar, feel the beat. Must see TV, the place where worlds meet. Jump right in, the fun's about to start. Bringing shows and stories straight to your heart. With every post and every share, we're free. Gotta get that fix of must-see TV. Round and round, don't let this moment fade. Together on this ride, the best we've ever made. Get the popcorn ready, it's your time to shine. Must-see TV will keep you feeling fine. Oh, you know it's must-see TV come alive. Every day we light the way on Facebook Live. Catch the magic, hear the roar, feel the beat. Must-see TV, the place where worlds meet. Oh, you know it's must-see TV come alive. Every day we light the way on Facebook Live. Catch the magic, hear the roar, feel the beat. Must-see TV, the place where worlds meet.
Hello, hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome. Hello, LB. LB, did we lose her?
Oh, she's
No, you didn't lose me.
Okay.
I accidentally put myself on mute.
All
Sorry.
right, no problem. Are you ready to go, my dear? Are you ready to go? Are
I
you
am ready to go.
All right.
You're good.
All right. All right. Yeah. Okay. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a brand new episode of the Page Redemption. This episode, we're going to be taking a look at M.L. Wang's Blood Over Brighthaven, which I am very, very excited about. Honestly, I am. But I'm not alone. I'm not alone. No. You think I'm alone. You think I'm alone. I am not alone. I am here with my co-host and showrunner for the show. Wait, let me bring her in the way I bring her always in. The beautiful, the wonderful, the marvelous, the ostentational, the fantastical, the whimsical, the mystical, the magical, Lily Bowman LB. How's it going, LB?
Hey, I think my favorite of those epithets is whimsical. I love a whimsical.
Yeah. It's Sparkles, what's going on with my mic?
You're doing fine.
All right. Okay. So okay. No, it seems on my end, on my headset, it's going kind of in and out. So if you could just monitor that closely, thank you. Anyway, we are taking a look at Blood Over Bright Haven by M.L. Wang.
Yes.
So I'm going to let you, as always, do what you do best, and let's go a little into the background of this author.
Okay. So, first things first. It is difficult to find information about this author. I found what I could. I found a bunch. But within that, I did discover that she only does one interview a year, as by her own assertion, just because, she finds it really, really difficult to essentially keep up with her writing schedule, her work schedule, life-work balance, and she doesn't interview well. By her own words, she does not interview well. She's got a lot of social anxiety, and it doesn't translate well in an interview environment, so she just doesn't really do them. So she only really does them once a year.
Well, it's a talent, right? People think it's easy. It's not.
Oh, God, no. No. Oh, my God. It's hard. I mean, if you think about a job interview, those things are nerve-wracking and all of that stuff. And if you're doing an author interview, authors generally, not as a rule, but generally are not really a outgoing species. We're kind of more homebody-ish.
Writers are very
The nature
inclusive
of the
too.
passion, we write it out. We don't interact with people. So she only does one interview a year. Honestly, I could only actually find one of these interviews. And when I was trying to find more information about stuff, I found a figure skater by the name of M.L. Wang, who is not our actual author here. But fun fact about that, if you're looking for information about her, she's not a figure skater.
Right, yes.
Alrighty, so she was born in Wisconsin in 1992. And somewhere through her upbringing, there is going to be a lot of this sort of this sort of thing is a thing, but I can't really give you much more information about it. So somewhere in her upbringing, she did go to school in Japan, and she did also go to school in America as a young girl. So her father's Han Chinese and her mom is white American, and by her own admission, she sort of felt like an outsider in her own home. Not because her parents did anything or anything like that. It's just because both of her parents did not grow up as a minority, and she did grow up as a minority in America primarily. So what became of that, she said, she really kind of turned to storytelling because the heavy influence of a fear of being misunderstood. So, when you storytell, you're able to help people feel something. So she sort of said, if she couldn't help people understand what she's saying, at least she can make them feel what she's feeling. Yeah. And that's sort of close enough. So I thought that was really interesting. Okay, so there's that aspect. She also, she does have a Bachelor of Arts in History, from which she graduated in 2015. I do not know what school she graduated from. I can presume it's one in Wisconsin, but I don't actually know. And from there, she worked in a martial arts school. As far as I can tell, she's actually still either working in a martial arts school or martial arts is still a heavy influence in her life. In 2020, which is when this one interview I could find was, she had a bunch of fish in an aquarium. So she's got fish, and she's also got a maroon-bellied conure, which is like sort of like a tiny parrot.
Aww.
So we've got the pets. We
Okay.
know what the pets are. And now let's go on to her her books. So the first books, or the first book she published, she actually self-published, which is not something that we really see. an
No,
awful
no,
lot of.
not at all.
Like at all. But her first book, which is The Sword of Kaigen, she self-published, which is amazing. But that was hugely popular. It's also had like, oh my gosh, I've forgotten the name of the site where it's like you, never mind. It was just sort of a fun fact, but whatever. I've forgotten it. So that was her first book in 2019. And then in 2023, she published the Volta Academy Chronicles under Maya Ling Wang, which is her full name, Maya Ling Wang. And those are YA books. Those are young adult fiction. They're Girl Squad, Volta, Volition, and Volcanic. And she
Ooh.
published these in 2023.
Magical
Like,
girls.
Honestly, I read the
The
descriptions.
power
of
of
them,
love.
and I'm like,
I don't care. You're gonna
love
give
and
me.
friendship.
You're gonna.
I kind of want to read them.
Yeah,
not
me
gonna
too.
lie.
Me too. Like as we
They sound
discovered
awesome.
in D&D, I'm a huge. Spoiler. I'm a huge anime fan, but I'm a huge old Deke dub fan. So I enjoy the Sailor Moon, our version that we got over here. I enjoyed our version that we got of Card Captors. They were. I know that a lot of.
I freaking loved Card Captors.
Yeah,
Okay, I
yeah.
was so into that show.
Yeah.
I,
Secret of the Cloud was all. I know, like some anime purists hate that show.
oh, whatever.
Don't talk to me if you're an anime purist
Right.
and you're like, but you know the original dub. Like, shut up. Go smell. Go look at some grass. Power of Love. I don't care. Power of Love. I love it. And the cheesy rock.
Written these YA novels, which I think they're sort of more of like a queer high school hero
Yeah.
meets fairy magic / tech.
Oh, dude, we have to. Oh man, next
Yeah.
year sometime we have. Oh man, that just sounds
I'm
so
not
good.
entirely sure how much they're going to fit into this show,
Yeah,
just
yeah.
because they are geared specifically for like middle school age girls. And like, I think I'm
So
gonna
much-
read them for
yeah.
myself.
Yeah, me too.
But I know for a fact that like we have like I do try and steer us away
Yeah.
from
Aw.
YA just
Yeah.
so that we can keep
Yeah.
the sort of like analysis of things a little bit more.
I'm gonna read these on my. Send me the books. I'm gonna on my downtime. That's right. A caveman.
Also, yeah,
will
I've not
be-
looked into
yeah.
whether or not these are audiobooks.
Yeah,
yet.
yeah.
Don't know that.
Okay.
I will look into that because
Okay.
I do believe these are also self-published.
Okay.
And they were published 2023.
Okay.
So recently, March, June, and November. All three of them.
Okay.
March, June, November. Bang, bang, bang. Insane to me that someone can like fly those out. And then, of course, we had Blood Over Brighthaven, which was published in 2024. And that was published under Penguin Classics. Or under Del Rey and under Penguin, I do believe. So, like, big publishing name, from going from, like, self-published and, like, very well-received self-published as well.
Yes.
To a very large publishing name. That's awesome. The only other thing that I have here is that she also has short stories in 3 different anthologies, which is The Death in the Uncanny Valley, which is from the Alchemy of Sorrow anthology. Mortopia, which is from the When Swords Fall Silent anthology, and also How the Dragons Became Extinct from the Unavowed anthology. The very last thing that I have, which I absolutely freaking love for her, is she, ever since she was 9 years old, she wanted to be an author.
Right.
And like,
That's good. That's cool.
Like, she says that writing is her way of sort of like, it's essentially her therapy. Like when she's going through something, she'll write it out. So she does actually have, if you guys are interested, our listeners can go to her website and check out not huge, but like a blog post that she did essentially on the process of her writing Blood Over Brighthaven. She really goes into detail about it. It is a dark story, and she sort of says that she used it as a way of really getting out a lot of emotions that she was having going through a dark period. And then through editing it, it was actually really quite difficult for her, because throughout the editing process, you know, she was healing, and it was really difficult for her to like sort of go back into the mentality of these characters and deal with all of the really difficult subject matter that is in the book. So that's all I have to share about M.L. Wang and her publishing journey.
All right, so
she's not a parrot, which is really cool.
that's cool. That's cool. So before we get into it, I'm just gonna do a little disclaimer here. We have some rules on this network, for very good reasons. This book kind of breaks some of these rules. So what we're going to be doing is only talking about these things when it comes to this book. So the context and all that kind of stuff. So don't at us. I will go and at you. No. I just letting you know, just throwing it out there. I was kind of pulling my hair. If I had any hair, I was pulling it out listening to this book. I'm like, oh, LB, why? But
I mean,
it is what it is. We can't stop it. Like, I get it. I get it. But I'm like, I'm just gonna have to say my piece, and that's my piece. And don't torture my family. They had nothing to do with this. All right, let's move on.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's one of these things which is.
You
like,
know what you did, LB. You know.
No,
Next
I don't
time.
know what I do.
Honestly,
Honestly, I don't read these books.
You
before
owe me
we actually
donuts.
do them, right?
You owe
So
me
I came
donuts.
into this blind, and I don't owe you anything, mate.
You
I'll
owe
eat
me
your
donuts.
I don't owe you donuts.
Oh, you
Nobody
owe
owes
me
you
donuts. You know you okay.
But I struggle with this sort of energy around it, just because, like, I'm trying to be as delicate as possible when we talk about these sorts of things, but like a lot of the themes that fantasy and like dark fantasy especially deals with, you can draw parallels to.
It's a little bit too close to home, though, in this
the
book.
world. I'm not gonna go any further than saying that, but like, you know, of course you're going to find oppressive themes that parallel stuff, because the writers that are writing this exist in the real world, you know? So when we're discovering fantasy and when we're discovering these sorts of things, if there's parallels that you can draw within the real world, obviously that's going to be there. Like, these books aren't like outside of the world that we live in, right? Yeah. So I'll just sort of put that out there. If anyone wants to like have a further conversation with me about that sort of stuff, you're more than welcome to go to my own accounts that I do book stuff on, and I'm more than happy to have like conversations around that sort of stuff. So if you want to caveman at me, I'm more than happy to have a conversation with you about that.
No, don't at
caveman.
LB. Don't. Just know we are going to be talking about some things that will will be breaking rules on this network. But we are only going to be talking about those subjects when it comes to this book, and nothing outside of this book. So that's all. All right, let's move
I
on.
can feel your stare at me. Anyway, so okay, before we get into our check marks and our X's and all that, what was your sort of like before reading this book? What did you expect from the book? We always do sort of first impressions, right?
I don't know what I thought. I'm like, oh man, you know, this book, Blood Over Brighthaven. I'm like, ooh, I like the name. I like, M.L. Wang. I looked up the author. I'm like, oh, she's pretty cool. She's a pretty cool chick. I'm ready to get into this book. So that's my first impression.
Yeah. I mean, I was a little bit hesitant because it has had such good reviews.
Yeah.
And in the past, you know, I've come at books being like, oh, like all these reviews say they're great. It's the best book of this year, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then we read it and we're like, what?
Yes.
So I was a little bit hesitant, but I had seen it from a number of like other book reviewers that like I trust their sort of instincts a little bit more just from the reviews that I've seen them do. So I was like, okay. I was hesitantly excited. It seemed like a cool concept, and I was looking forward to getting into it. So with that, shall we start on our check marks?
Sure. I have a bunch actually.
I have a bunch as well.
Yeah. I know that.
Yay! You got a check
Yay!
mark.
So, I enjoyed the writing. I had a really good time. It was nice. There was no point where it got stuck to me at any one point. It flowed nicely. I wanted to see what happened from chapter to chapter. It was just easy to get into. I was able to just go, oh, this is, a writer knows what she's doing. Oh, God. Oh, thank you so much, Great Googly Cookie Monster in the Sky. And you know, I just it flowed really nicely. And I don't, it looks easy. It's not.
It's not easy.
Just like writing a book or a movie or a show. It looks easy. People are like, oh, I can do it. And then they find out, oh, wait, no, I can't. This is hard. It flowed really good. And from one writer to another, I really appreciate that. I really, really did. That's my first check mark.
I think, you know what's interesting? Like, doing this job, like, specifically reading books for this purpose, even before doing this job anyway, like, you read books and some people are like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. You read it and you're like, this is a writer that doesn't know what the fuck they're doing. I'm sorry, I can't enjoy this. But, like, it's a treat.
Yes.
To sink your teeth into really good writing, you know? And I think because the publishing industry in and of itself, like, there's thousands of books on the market, you know? And what gets published isn't necessarily what is good work.
Yes.
Sometimes it's just what is popular, whatever's being pumped out. And don't get me wrong, I love a good fluff novel. I love a good book that I don't have to frickin' think about sometimes. I need a palate cleanser, whatever. But some of the books that I try and pick for this channel, I'm hoping that they've got like that spark of something that's really something that you can sink your teeth in.
Yeah.
And I think part of the challenge of, show running really, but like choosing the books and making sure that we're getting good books is we're now into our 7th season?
I don't know.
Of
I lost count.
11 books a year.
Yeah.
And you're not going to hit the home base every single time.
I know, LB. I know. I'm over. Oh, I know.
So it's. Yeah, and I think too, because the both of us are writers.
Yeah.
So we pick apart books. We pick them apart.
Yeah.
We know what to look for. We know what we like. There's tropes that we don't like as well. There's all this sorts of stuff. So when we come upon something that is written so well that like you're enjoying the ride and you can stop paying attention to the writing and you can just like experience the book, that is such a treat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so, sorry, that was a whole-on rant there because, we do this channel because I like talking about writing. But, yeah, I agree with you. And I think what's really interesting about that is that it was fully intentional because her previous book, the criticisms that she had gotten for it, it was well received, but the criticism that she got for it was the plot was sticky in some points. And both of these books, fun fact, both of her adult novels that she's published started off as novellas. This is very clearly not a novella. Her previous book is also very clearly not a novella. But what's interesting is that it's grown from a novella so that every plot point is necessary, It's grown out from that, out of necessity for the story, and she has specifically paid attention to the plot points and moving it forward in such a fashion that it flows well. And I love that because I think so many authors get lost in their writing and then, we have these weird sort of like jumpy plots and it's jarring. So yeah, the run of the plot, I love that. I thought it was very well paced. And I'll stop waxing poetical about that. I'm gonna join you on your check mark on that. What's your next check mark?
I love the magical system.
Oh God!
In this,
Mm-hmm.
I'll get to some things in my exes.
Yeah.
But I love the magical scientist kind of where hey, it doesn't you can't like cast a spell and things happen. You have to source your spell. You have to map your spell out. You have to do a whole bunch of calculations and then you can make the spell appear. I thought that was really fascinating. It takes a lot for me to go, well, that's different. This is different. Mm-hmm. And while I have some issues, not with the magic system, I have no issues with the magic system. Let me be clear. I have no issues with the magic system. I love the magic system. I think it's unique. I think it's different. And while I can appreciate that, I really do appreciate it, because it takes a lot for me to go, well, that's different. And that's, I can have issues at the same time. I just want to let everyone know. But I love the magic system. I think it's great. Somebody's making ribs right beside me, and I'm smelling those ribs, and God damn it. and yeah, oh man, oh that smells old. Is that minestra? Oh, it's not. Oh, that's probably minestra. Oh, I hate this person. Okay, yeah, that's my next check mark. That's my next check mark. It's just, I love the magic system. I just that's very unique. That's very creative, and I applaud
Yeah.
that.
I hate to sort of sound like just like I'm repeating you, but that is legitimately my next check mark as well, as the magic system. I mean, we operate in this space of fantasy realms, and so obviously we get to view an awful lot of magic systems within
Yeah.
those. And this was super cool. It was like, what I liked about it is that, like, you didn't need to have like an innate ability in order to access the magic. It was sort of like this thing that was, I don't know how to describe it, but it was like the way that it incorporated into the world as well. You know what? I'll blend this with another check mark because I really enjoyed the world building. I thought the way that the magic system was incorporated into
Yeah.
this world was really well done. Like she really thought out, like, okay, so
And went deep
if they're
too.
going to have this sort of thing, you know, and like even down, what I loved, and that was a huge plot point as well, but what I loved is that, you know, they've got these massive towers and they're siphoning off this thing, and like they have to change out the spell paper in order for it to do a continual thing.
Right.
And so there's sort of this chug over at noon that happens. And the like poorer areas of this neighborhood, or of this city, sometimes they get flickering lights, and sometimes this thing happens because they're not prioritized in the energy distribution. And I just like the way that the like
Yes, it was
magic
very
system-
well thought out.
Yeah, it really like it wasn't.
It
just
felt like a
oh,
vibrant
this is-
city. It felt like a vibrant
Yeah.
city.
It felt like something that was like. It was well done. It was a really well done world building as well as the magic system, and something that you probably didn't get to experience, I guess, because you're listening to the audiobook, of course. The first page of the book is actually a diagram of the machine that they use.
Oh, that's
for the
cool. That's cool.
yeah. That's like the first thing that you see, and it's like
They have a
it's
little-
not overly done.
They had a little
but
bit
I
of.
thought it was really cool.
They had a little bit about. Oh, sorry. They had a little bit about that towards the end of the book, where she's going over all these devices and how it works, and so I had a feeling that this author would do something like this.
Oh, I love a book with a glossary.
Yeah.
I really do, and it's funny because I didn't even realize it was there until I was finished the book.
Yeah.
And you know when you finish a book and you're like just like flipping through the pages of like, okay, I'll read all the acknowledgments.
Yeah.
I don't want the book to
Yeah.
kind of thing. And I was like, and there's a damn glossary. Well,
Yeah.
I didn't know that. But yeah, I thought that was just a really cool little addition, that there is actually like there's a sketch of I forget what it's called now. The spellograph. Spellograph. Yeah, the spellograph. So yeah, it's like it's a small little thing.
No.
But yeah, I thought that was cool. Okay, so next check marks.
What's your next check mark?
Okay, so my next check mark
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. I want to hear you now.
was the main character, Skiona, her breakdown, the way that was like characterized through the book and through the plot points. I thought that was really well done.
Yeah.
And I'll explain what I mean. Because like she has this sort of like, you know, essentially the entirety of her like of her faith, of the way that she's built her life, of like who she thinks she is, everything that she's thought about the world at large.
The
comes into
naivete of
challenge
this
with
character.
a
Yeah.
big twist. You know?
Yeah.
So like she has a breakdown. She re-examines who she is as
Yeah.
a person. There's this huge thing. And I think it was done really, really well in the fact that, like, you know, both in her being an imperfect character. That she's not, it's not just this moment of like, oh, I was in the wrong. No, she fights back against it. She does what a person could or would do within that space. She blames the other person. She presents this as an actual very well rounded character, a flawed character, but a rounded character. And then also what I loved about that is that every moment through her breakdown, it pushes the plot forward, but not in a way that's like, oh, this thing now needs to happen, and so this is what's going to happen, and she's just sort of being back and forth on this. No, I can't let this go. But it's a further step in her breakdown. For example, when she goes to
Oh, spoiler alert. That's right. We forgot to say spoiler alert.
spoiler alert, you
Yeah.
should know this by now, guys.
Yeah.
If this is your first
Yeah.
time with us, spoiler alerts, we
Yeah.
will spoil the book. So she goes to her mentor, and she talks to him, and recognizes in the conversation that he knew all along, and she has to have that conversation with him in order to let go of her idealized version of what the academy is. She has to have that conversation, and in the conversation, it's not just them back and forthing on it. She is sort of changing as the conversation happens, and that happens throughout her breakdown. So I think that aspect of it worked really well, because I see a lot of authors, they don't do that. They sort of have this breaking schism of a moment, and they either push back on it until a moment when they shouldn't be pushing back anymore for plot purposes, and then they change, but you don't actually see the whole sort of step-by-step process of it. So I think she did a superb job of that. I really love that aspect.
Okay. I disagree with you probably 100%.
Okay, interesting.
I mean, I'm not gonna get into it until my negatives, but I'm gonna save it for my exes, but I do have.
Save it for your exes.
I'm gonna
We'll talk to
save
that.
it for my exes.
So what's your check mark?
My last check mark is, I like how in deep she goes, and she covers everything. This is very Tolkien-esque. I'm getting a lot of Tolkien-esque vibe when I'm rereading this book. I read it 5 times. She's thought of everything. Chapters, history of all these different archmages. She is just, and I love that. I love the thought that went out. The appreciation I have for that is is very, very big. 'Cause how many times have we seen authors just go and just explore a character and explore another character, and they don't take the time, which I get it. Tolkien was a very special character, and he overthought everything. I get it, but I appreciate that much more attention to detail. It makes the world that much more vibrant and come alive.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think you have an excellent, I think also, she does it in a way that is, not too much Tolkien, because sometimes
Yeah.
people's complaints with Tolkien is,
Well,
there is
that's
10
my
pages explaining the Tolkien.
my go-to to everything. That's my go-to to everything.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, he's an OG for a
Yeah.
reason, right?
Right.
But I think she does it really well, that she spends enough time on it.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yes.
She doesn't spend too little. She doesn't spend way too much.
Right.
She spends enough time building this picture. I agree. I think the last check mark that I have for here is the relation. This is a completely random jump, but the relationship and the family unit of women that raised our main character.
Right. Yes.
And I think I liked that because it was complicated. It wasn't cut and dry. It was really lovely too, you know? A lot of the time, like, yes, we do have our classic orphan figure, but she's not orphaned in the way that normally we have it. She's also not, this character is not, you know, unnaturally gifted in dancing and fighting and all that sort of stuff. In fact, she's quite physically weak.
Yes.
She, you know, like her power is in the fact that she is very studious, she's very smart, and she is like a bloodhound on what she wants. And also the fact that she has a family around her that supports that. And it comes out in the book as well. And I think it's really well done, because like these sorts of side characters sometimes can get really lost. And I think like the way that her cousin comes to meet her in jail and like really just like rejects her and is just like, you know, you never had to do any washing up. You never had to do any of this. We did this for you.
Yeah.
And like, it's just entirely broken that unit. And like, Siona just never even thought about it, you know? So like, we've got this sort of, I mean, example of internalized misogyny. I won't go into that, but like, we've got this example of like a really strong character with a really solid family background, but then we also have the discovery of like how that was taken advantage of.
Yeah.
How this unceasing and an unending love for her did actually have its limits.
Right.
And how there was actually a lot of resentment that was going on behind that wasn't communicated. So I think the way that like relationship was presented and the family was presented, was again very realistic. I thought it was really well done. I thought it moved the plot forward ahead as well. And it had like, it was really well done. I love that
Right.
point. And that's going to be my last check mark.
All right, so my last check mark is going to be really easy. The exposition. There was only one scene. It was in when she was going to be examined to be an archmage, and it came off so organic. It didn't come off to like, "Hey guys, this is how everything works." No, you had a very organic
conversation,
and through that conversation, you understand how everything worked. And that's my last check mark.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny because I didn't even think about that scene as an exposition scene. Like, obviously it is.
Yeah.
But that's what we talk about when we say, you know, exposition can be done well, and whatever example that we're talking about generally isn't.
Right.
But yeah, that's a great example of how it can be used and
Right.
done well, especially sparingly.
Right.
Because, you know, it was necessary and didn't go too much into it. And yeah, I agree.
So let's
okay.
move on to our exes. Who started the
You
check
start
mark?
us off.
Oh yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, God damn it, LB. All right. Okay, I'm just gonna be patient.
Why don't you go into what you were going to say with the breakdown moment? Because
All
I'm
right.
interested to hear what you think of that.
All right, so my first X is going to be, listen, I can appreciate the magical system, okay? A magical scientist, okay, I'm fine with it, okay? I can go along. But how many times have we come on this show and talked about something that just, for whatever reason, right? It's subjective. It happens, right? It just, something happens, somebody says something that just like, I'm not following this book now. You completely lost me. And this is where this book lost me. I can accept magical scientists, okay? I can accept that. But magical scientists that believe in a god? No. No, I'm sorry. You lost me. you do not get to you do not get to have your cake and eat it too. In this case, you have to pick and choose, especially what we got later on in the book. You do not get to do that. In my opinion, I think that's all I'll say. You do not get to have your cake and eat it too. In this case, pick one or the other. It can't be both. I'm sorry, you want it to be both, but it can't. And maybe because it's just me, I have a lot of friends that are scientists and that kind of stuff. And this is kind of bleeding in what we were talking about in the first of the book. But I just, no, for whatever reason, I'm like, no, I'm sorry. Especially when we got that argument with her friend about there are two religions. And he's like, no, I believe in God. I just don't believe in your God. And she's like, why don't you believe in my God? I'm like, no, I'm sorry, no. And when she doubled down on it. And I just, sorry, no. That's my check mark. That's my biggest check mark.
Okay. I think that's interesting because, like, I'm not saying I disagree with you on it, because I think there is potentially, like, within this, the opportunity to sort of say that, like, the magic school and the, like, hierarchy that they've created, they've put themselves in this position of wielding God's magic, and therefore they are...
But they're scientists at the same time. They go through mapping spells, and that's exactly what it is,
Yeah.
magical scientists.
So,
That's my biggest gripe. You do not get, for me, you do not get to have your cake and eat it too. In this case, in this point.
I think, yeah, I mean, like, it does seem very
It's
much...
just frustrating. It's for me, when it kept getting brought up, it just angered me. for whatever reason.
I think in terms of the character herself and how much she holds on to that, potentially. I think the way that it's presented in the novel is more so as a, social conditioning rather than a true, like, faith. And then, then we can really talk about, then we're getting into areas of, like, you know what I mean? So not going to touch too much on that.
That's what I was saying, LB. That's what I was saying.
I definitely engaged with scientists and people in the medical health professions that are very, very in their faith. And, they sort of, I'm not going to speak for their faith and that sort of stuff, but, like, I think... I'm not trying to argue against what you're saying. I just think there's more complexity within that argument, and the way that it's presented in the novel maybe should have been given a little bit more depth. Like, maybe we could have seen more of that faith to understand how it could be twisted in that way, because I think I see what she was trying to do with it. And yeah, there's definitely a disconnect there. I don't have that as an X for me, and I didn't really think that because of the way that I think it was used more so as, like, a coercive tool.
I
see what you're saying, though.
When that
I do see what you're saying, though.
when that argument happened, that's when the book lost me. When that argument happened, that's when that book lost me. I'm like, okay, no.
Because I think that argument was, like, it was surprising to me because of how focused she is on her studies, but it wasn't surprising to me as, like, a character trait of hers. Because she's so very rigid in her studies, she's given this absolute truth and has been taught this her whole entire life, and she lives in a world and in a system that upholds this her whole entire life. Why would she question that? So I think that argument sort of, sorry, I'm going all around this, and what I really mean to say is that, like, people are not all one thing or all another. You know, people have, what's the word that I'm looking for? Like, juxtapositions within themselves, right? Like, people have things that they can believe that are directly opposed to other things that they believe. And that's just like, it doesn't make sense looking at it, but people are that way. Like, I've been surprised by conversations that I've had with people where I'm like, but
It's
you're
just
so
counterintuitive,
this way. How
though.
do you think that?
It's,
and I think
it's-
that was interesting. But in terms of telling a story, I hear what you're saying.
Just the fact that they're scientists, for one, okay, and they're magical scientists, okay? It's, like I said, I cannot go with you on that journey. Once you throw those things in the mix, like 3 things, like, I just, a lot of other books I've read have managed to handle this more intuitively and delicately in the way that it made sense. One of the first, what was it, season 3, right? The Kingdom of Copper, or what was that?
Yeah.
Yeah, was able to handle this with more tact, way it made sense, and you'll be like, okay, I can follow you on this journey. Yeah, absolutely. But in this book, it just drove me fucking insane. There we go. That's the. All right, the 18 rating is up. Okay,
You don't have
it
to
just
agree on
drove
everything.
just drove me insane. And like I said, I'm not going to say anything more. For me, in this book, I cannot go on you. I can't go on you. I can go with you so far, and that's it. But for me, this is my opinion. This book's subjective. This is why you were here. You cannot have your cake and eat it too. That's all I'm gonna say. That's my biggest X.
All right, so my big X here is we start this story with Pommel and his clan essentially crossing, and he makes it over, and he has his niece. Annoyingly enough, I forget his niece's name, but the niece is the whole, this first chapter of the book, we're emotionally invested in the niece now. She's just lost her parents. They've crossed over into this, wondrous land. But they're already sort of aware it's not going to be as beautiful as they think it's going to be. We have this sort of
Quinn, yeah.
Yeah. And then we jump ahead and we get into a whole other story of Skiona's sort of story, and we only come to meet Pommel until, he does get introduced relatively early in the first of the novel in terms of the larger part of the story, but we don't see the niece again until way later in it.
Yeah.
And then even with that, it's not, we don't even know that she exists still. We're this guy is here, but we haven't heard about his niece. Did she die? What happened? There were supposed to be work camps. What's going on there? What the fuck? What is happening with the niece? Did she survive? And she only comes up later, and then she's given this really great character that we don't see an awful lot of, and it fucking irritated me.
Yeah. Yeah.
I get it. I think there are sacrifices that you have to make in terms of keeping the story tight and making sure you're going forward with things. Maybe if we, traveled onward with the niece's journey a little bit, it would have been too long of a story. I was actually thinking initially, like, is Skiona the niece? Is
Right.
she, like, did something happen there? You know what I mean?
Right,
Like,
yes.
So that frustrated me because I liked the character. I thought, she's got everything I like in a character. She's spunky. She's got this. She's got that, whatever. But, like, we're left sort of in the dark about that character.
Yeah.
Like, we're introduced to
Yeah.
her, and then we're left in the dark about her, and then she does come up, and then she doesn't really have, like, she has some important plot points, for sure, and I think the way that she's incorporated into the story is good and nice, and I enjoy how she is in the story, but
Right,
there's
yeah.
just not enough of her.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's a big X for me because, you introduce this,
Yes.
like, super important character, but then we don't see her.
Right. Yes. I agree.
Right?
I totally agree with you. And you're gonna be bouncing off one of my check marks, actually. One of my not check X's. One of my X's.
Then
The
please, go into it.
Quen. The Quen. All right.
Yeah.
So, in the first of the book, we have this opening. And it's stated in this opening, they are probably the last of their kind. Okay? And only 2 make it. And then years later, there's a bunch of Quinn. And we did get no explanation. We just, shh, there's just a bunch of Quinn now.
Okay. I don't necessarily agree because I think maybe more clarity, yes,
Yeah.
but it is sort of explained that they are the last of their clan,
Yeah.
not necessarily the last peoples of
Yeah,
the clan.
yes, a lot last of their Quinn, but so this is for me where the confusion comes in. Last are people off their clan, they make it, and then there's a bunch of Quinn. I agree with you. Some clarity needed to be made. There was none. There was no clarity. There's
Okay.
just Quinn. How? You've done so much to build this world up, to build the religion, the lore, and all that kind of stuff. It only takes like a couple of sentences on how the Quen managed. There's a whole bunch of Quen. Like how? You have to explain that. Like for me, that was like one of my X's. It's just poof. No, you have to explain that. You have to. In passing dialogue would have did so much
Okay.
for me. Just
I'm going to give you a little bit of pushback in
Okay.
this, just because
Okay.
I think there might have been some things that. Okay, so when we first get into the book, we're told, this is the last of the clan.
Yeah.
And then obviously they have this information about crossing into the world
Right.
because other people have done it. That isn't explicitly stated like, oh, so-and-so went and came back or whatever. But it's clear there has been some sort of crossover because they have this information about when you get there, make sure you tell them this or what have you.
right.
So there's some sort of crossover there. There
Right.
is also acknowledgement that there are other clans.
Right. Yeah. I know.
Also, within this, we do get, not within the first chapter, but in passing conversations, we have the conversation with the head janitor, who he talks about his clan. I don't remember the name of the clan, but he talks about that, and he's quite a bit older.
Right.
so we have information from him that, his mom came over with him and there were other people that came with them. And it's just sort of like, I feel like from that, it's sort of understood that these are sort of, in a sense, refugees that have come to the city. Also, we do get a very tidbit of history about how the city initially came up, and how there were some Quen that fought against. And I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure within that conversation it stated the ones that didn't decide to join us, implicitly stating that there were some that did join us.
All right, if
But there
that's in the book, because I read it 5 times, and maybe glancing, it stated that.
I will say there isn't like that sort of, this is where all these people came from.
Yeah.
Like but we also, I think,
Like, how does, like,
sort of a bit intentional, because we have this sort of like very, I don't want to say cringy, but like, uncomfortable conversation Skiona has with the janitor, her realizing that she doesn't really know much about the Quen. They're told that they're, these unwashed people that just come into their city. There's a lot of misinformation about
Yeah.
where they come from. So I think it's almost intentional that we are sort of left in the dark
Okay.
about how many people there are.
Okay.
However,
That's fair.
I'm not going to say that,
That's
your
fair.
point is entirely invalid, because we don't have an awful lot of that history.
It's just I can get like a couple, like 1,000, like I get it, like I can understand like a few hundred or that, but in the book it's stated like a lot more than a couple thousand, and I just thought, I'm like, you could have just brushed over this with an organic conversation.
I mean, I think, honestly, jumping off of
But that
this
could be
point
fair.
and
Like,
my
I'm not
last point-
poo-pooing what you're saying. That could be like,
Oh, yeah, no.
very-
I'm not even arguing with you on this point.
Okay.
I think there might have been an opportunity for that in the bar scene. We could have had
Yeah.
more exploration around
Right.
sort of Quen and their culture within the city.
right,
We could have had a little sort of more exploration
Right.
of the niece.
right,
And in her interactions, we could have found out more about that.
Right.
I think there was definitely opportunity to expand within that space a little bit more and give the Quen more of an identity than just this sort of oppressed people within a city,
right, right.
This sort of idea of oppressed refugees
Right.
within a city. Like,
Yeah.
that's really the identity of the Quen that we have.
Right.
It might be intentional.
Right.
But I don't necessarily agree that it's not explained entirely.
Okay, all right. That's fair enough. I have one more X after this. I have not many X's.
I also have one more X.
All right, you go first.
Okay. I will say that it's a soft X. Because I think there's things to be said about what happens here. Anyway, so, okay. The romance between Tomil and Skiona. When it sort of, like, when those first sort of, like, bits of it are introduced in the story, I just had, like, this massive moment of, like, can we not?
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't need to be that way.
Yeah.
Like, they can get along as colleagues and
They could be
you know,
friends.
form a good
They could be
friendship and
friends.
all that sort of stuff. There doesn't have to be
Yeah.
this romance in that.
Yeah.
We don't and it sort of was like, it gave very white woman falling in love with the savage thing.
Yeah.
So, however, saying that, if we say, okay, but that relationship is existing, that's what happens in this world, these two people find that they love each other, whatever. I thought the way that they incorporated, the way that the romance played out was realistic in the space.
Yes,
You know,
yeah.
there is no massive declaration of love and like big sex scene before
Yeah.
a massacre happens. No, she goes back home because there's about to be this massive thing and there's
Yeah.
no fucking time.
Yeah.
You know, like that I thought was done well. It irritated me that there was a romance.
Yeah.
And that, you know, it couldn't have just been like, well, our interactions with one another has changed our minds about how these things work and you know, has that sort of stuff. It irritated me that it had to be Tommel actually loves this lady, and that's the reason that pushes him forward to try more or whatever, right? Like,
Right.
that irritated me. But the way that it was written and how it played out, I thought was done well.
Yeah.
So, yeah, take that for what
Yeah,
you will.
I just, can it be BFS? Like, be friends? Like, be friends for life? Like, do
Right?
like, they don't have to,
That's like-
they don't have to schmooze and think about love stuff.
But you know me, I'm
yeah.
a huge fan. Hilariously enough, I will definitely stand on like romance novels having their place,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
being like actually good literature, etc.,
Yeah.
etc. I read them, whatever.
Yeah.
But like I personally within stories, if I'm not expecting there to be a romance and there is,
Yeah.
I feel betrayed.
Yeah. So my final X is the discovery. There's a spoiler alert. There's a huge twist at the end where she finds out that the blight is magic. How they source her magic is from blight, and blight is sucking the energy out of all living things. Okay? Now, this supposedly smart, brilliant person has his light bulb go off in her head at one point in the book and says, I'm going to expose this to the world. Okay? And Tommel tries to talk her out of it. And she doesn't think that this is bigger than me. Okay? Which it is. It really is. So much stuff is sourced from everything in this city. So what happens if you expose that to the world? There's going to be crime. There's going to be rioting. There's going to be all this stuff. She's supposed to be a brilliant magical scientist. And she can't put two and two together? She has to be told this? And even then, she goes and does it anyway. And people have to come up to her. It's like, this is fucking insane what you've done. Even Tommel, even the minority in the city is like, this is a horrible idea. This is a horrible idea. Do you know how that you destroyed this city? You have destroyed this city. I just, again, you put so much time and effort saying, this is a brilliant, smart, young woman. I cannot make that leap with you where you had to purposely do that to this character. Because this character in this book wouldn't have done it. If you give her all the rational information earlier on in the book, she would 100%, I believe she would have made a totally different decision. You had to give her a lapse of judgment. You had to purposely do this to this character to do this. Because this is a big thing she is doing. This is a massive thing. This is a massive thing. Even Tommel says this is I will do this. But this is not a great idea for you to do. And she's like, I'm going to do it anyway. And
I'm
she,
going to give you a bit of pushback on that.
okay, all right.
Because this character, Skiona is characterized as someone who is very focused on a very, very specific space. And, like, she's a scholar, right? She's a scholar, she's a lab scientist.
But she's a
She doesn't
scientist.
really have
She's a
friends.
magical scientist that can put two
Yeah.
and two together. Like, you're telling me
So,
that she's
I
not
will
in
say-
this case. It's
Okay.
like, I'm Tom, what do you want me to do? Oh, I'm going to do this anyway. Like,
I
it's
will say,
just,
this is a very realistic interpretation of this sort of character because
it's not realistic at all.
I've seen it.
Yeah, but I've
You're
seen it. I've
right.
seen it as well, swinging the other way.
You know, like,
No, absolutely.
I hear your frustration in, like, come on, you know, you can't be that stupid and that smart. But the way, like, the
Stupid is
specific
putting it lightly.
that she
Like-
explicitly stated to have is not related to people, is not related to how the world works. She's explicitly
She could do the math though.
privileged in the way that she hasn't had to engage in this sort of way that her city works. You know, she is at home. Her cousin and her aunt take care of her, does the dishes, does the chores, and she goes to the magical academy and to the science labs and focuses all her freaking life
Yeah, on
passing
science.
this one thing.
And math.
But she's not good at, specifically, people. She doesn't understand them. She isn't very good with social interactions. She barely knows the names of the people around her, let alone how their relationships work. So I don't think it's that much of a far shot for her to hold on to this hope of what she has told herself and studied for herself this entire time of, like, this is the utmost pinnacle of, you know, intelligence and smartness, and surely these people wouldn't allow this to happen. I think it's very naive of her to think that, you know, oh, this entire world is operating on this and no one knows. That, like, massive ego that she has, that, like, she's discovered something that no one else has. I think that aspect of it is definitely flawed.
But in
But
the
I've
book,
seen it in people. I've
in-
seen it in people who are like, we can change the world. We can do this thing if we just.
but
I'm
in
not going
in
to get into specifics, but if we just do X, Y, and Z, it'll be fine. And it's like, well, you know, X, Y, and Z is the option that you're given.
yeah, but in the book,
Like, you know, like, it's like, it is ridiculous that you would think that that would work.
no,
But
it,
you are conditioned to think that that would work. So I see what you're saying and I hear the frustration, but I don't necessarily agree that it's, like, completely out of
it is it for me.
realism.
It
to think
is
that.
it it is out of realism. It is out of this
Like,
character.
You can say that it's fact, but that's opinion.
No, I mean, that's a big. We're not talking about, like, switching a light on or off. We're talking about, I'm going to expose this to the whole world. I'm going to put mirrors and everything is going to be okay. Like, look, you don't have to be good at socializing, but you are a magical scientist. You can put two to two together. You can equate things. And in the book, it states at a point she is changed in her thinking. She is different. She's improved in some ways, and even it's not like any one point in the book she has a not deep conversation about people, what she's going to do. She has a very deep conversation with Tomo. Hummel says this is not a good idea. Like, for me, you have to intentionally put that, have that lapse of judgment. It's a big lapse of judgment. It's a huge lapse of judgment. I'm not talking about like outside. I'm not talking about reality. This is a very real interpretation of this character. If this was, we would be having a totally different conversation. And I don't think. I agree. Around the world, there are lapses of judgment. Around the world. Okay? I do not deny that. Do I have them? Absolutely. Do we all have them? We're all flawed in some way. But
It is the human condition to be.
it is the human condition. But I'm not talking about reality. We're talking about a fictional book. And for me, that is a problem with me in this character with this book. I cannot wrap my head around the fact that she would intentionally not, with her skills, not put two and two together and really think about this. I understand. She says, look, I want to do this. This is very bad. This is horrible what we are doing. I want to expose this. And she's giving all the information to the contrary on how this may not be a great idea. But she doesn't think about that. She makes a snap decision on something that will catastrophically change this. And afterwards, she's like, oh, I may have fucked up. I'm like, yeah.
Oh, fuck.
Yeah, I can't make that leap. I'm sorry, LB. I can't. I just
Fair
can't.
enough.
So, with that said, that's my last X. That's my last X.
Okay, fair enough.
Um,
With all of this being said, I think what's really, what's worth acknowledging is the disagreements that we have
Yeah.
specifically on our X's and check marks are not about, I guess, are not about necessarily how the story is written,
Right, yes.
or that
Yeah.
sort of thing. But it's like,
it's the it's
I think
personal
what's interesting
opinions.
is that the character is in such a way that we're able to engage in the story enough to disagree on those aspects, and I
Right.
think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
I think that's a well done thing, and what is great about books and is great about books about difficult subjects is that it makes you, that frustration that you have is about a fictional place and setting and
Right.
character,
Yeah.
and that's
Yeah.
done really well.
Right. Yes.
That's my point on that.
So
But yeah. So what are your sort of final thoughts? Your recommend, your do not recommend? What are you saying?
I'm going to recommend this book. I think my personal problems aside, I think this is a well written book with some interesting concepts.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to read it again. I've already reread it 5 times. But that's me.
Time.
Yeah, 5
That is
times.
saying something.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I think you should go check this book out. LB, yay or nay? What say ye?
I say yay. I say I am very pleasantly surprised by the fact that I am agreeing with people in the reviews
Yeah.
of this.
Yeah.
You know, I'm happy to have read this. I enjoyed the read. I thought it was really well done. The story flowed well. It checked all the boxes for me. Yes, there were things that we can discuss and you know, talk about and that sort of thing. But I think that's what good books do.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know? So I think this is definitely a recommend for me. I definitely think, like, if someone were to ask me, you know, what books that you've read recently that you'd recommend, this would definitely be on that list for sure.
Right. So we want to know what you thought of this book down below in the comment section. And remember, kiddies, a few hours from now, this will flip over to our YouTube channel. So go over there, like, share, subscribe, and we will see you tomorrow for the series finale to Final Countdown Top 10 Favorite Movies. And next time, we turn the page to...
Drum roll, please. The City of Stairs by
Ooh.
Robert Jackson Bennett.
The City of City of Stairs.
City of Stairs.
City of Stairs. Ooh.
City of Stairs, yeah. And we've got Dead Gods.
Ooh.
We've got Conspiracy.
Ooh.
We've got Diplomats, and also Murder.
Ooh.
Like crime.
We got
lots
sexy
of
time?
stuff.
Do we have sexy time in the book?
I don't have a spicy rating on it.
Okay. Oh, damn it. Darn it.
I mean, it is an adult fiction,
Ooh.
but I don't think. I try and expressly not cover
Sexy time.
very spicy books.
Yeah.
In this-
It'd be
I would
awkward.
just be uncomfortable talking about
Yeah,
that.
yeah. All right. So, before we end things, LB, we have to do caveman growls. All right. So, Sparkles, let's do it.
Bradford Lawler.
Well, how many are we doing first?
We'll do 3.
Okay, let's do 3. Bradford Lawler. I like how she jumped in there. Oh, Bradford Lawler, from us to you, you got a great big bad caveman.
Kathy Johnson.
Kathy Johnson, from us to you, you got a great big bad caveman.
And Mark Templeton.
Mark Templeton. Are you angry at me? I didn't do anything.
No.
Okay. I thought you were angry.
No.
Okay. Mark Templeton. Yeah, it's 2 girls versus one caveman. I don't want to get outnumbered here.
Let's get him, LB.
Like, if you're angry, you'll know.
Yeah, okay. Templeton, from us to you, you got a great big bad caveman. So, guys, that will wrap it up for another episode of the LP Shop. We will see you really, really soon. I believe on the 18th. Yeah, for D&D Storytime, another episode. Episode 10. Episode 10. So until we see each other tomorrow for the series finale of Final Countdown Top 10 Favorite Movies, take care, be safe, be well, and we love you all! 30,000 plus. And may the Schwartz be with you. Bye, guys.